Hello there, everyone. This is Nick Ghanbarian from the band Bayside, and you're listening to The Anthony Rogers Show.
Republican Anthony Rogers has no previous political experience. Rogers, a comedian, is well known for a podcast called The Anthony Rogers Show.
Hey man, this is Tommy Chong, and right now you're listening to The Anthony Rogers Show.
Hey all you cool cats and kittens, it's Carol Baskin, and you are listening to The Anthony Rogers Show.
Hey, I'm out here fucking bitches though. Who are you? I'm out here getting riches though. Who are you?
The most listened to podcast of all my radio shows was the podcast where I interviewed best-selling author Jeff T. Bowles about the miraculous results of very high doses of vitamin D3 and how it could cure almost anything. In fact, this book on the subject is the best-selling book in the world about vitamin D. It's translated into 10 languages. Jeff recently wrote another book about COVID-19, which concluded that nobody had to die from COVID-19. The book was banned by Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So what is he going to do? He wants to give you the book as a free PDF file. All you have to do is share with your friends. Just send him an email at freecovidbook@gmail.com.
Welcome back to the greatest show in the entire universe. Today we have an absolute legend, Nick Ghanbarian.
My dog.
It actually barked over me butchering your last name, so it actually helps me. Nick's the bass player in Bayside, this legendary band, emo band, if you will. But really, I mean, huge fucking band when I was a kid and stuff, and still killing it. I mean, still getting a lot of streams and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
that was a really long and curse-filled introduction. How are you doing, man?
Doing good. Busy. Been off tour for about 13 days at this point, and going through a lot of changes at home, and hence why my dog is barking right now. I'm now doing all my podcasting from my living room, so I have to be near my dog, and of course he's going to bark at anyone who walks by the house. But yeah, just starting to get busy with some stuff at home besides getting the house together. Chris and I, the drummer of Bayside, have a coffee roasting company. So we just started that back up literally on Monday. So the reason I was 30 minutes late to this today is because I was out doing some deliveries that I knew were going to take a little bit of extra time. So getting busy, feels good. I definitely compartmentalize like my tour life and my home life. So now that I'm home, it's all about being home and taking care of business here.
That's where I see a lot of smart people in art do that. They start their own like side companies and it's weird you said coffee roasting and how energy works, because I literally I've just been talking to like one of my new friends about that, and like it's a really interesting like kind of thing. Like I don't really understand it completely. I guess it's like they get the beans from like South America, and then you bring them up here and ferment them and roast them and stuff. Is that what you guys are doing? Or
yeah, I mean, for the most part, we don't do our own. The fermenting is done more so at the farm. But yeah, I mean,
okay.
South America, Ethiopia, I mean, Central America. I mean, it's we have importers, and luckily where we live, there's 2 or 3 importers, and then we use one that's up in Northern California a little bit every now and again. So yeah, I mean, really, the genesis of us roasting coffee is, I mean, I guess the older we get and the further we are in our career, we have more time and we make more money by doing less. So we have a lot of free time. So 5 years ago on tour, we just decided at first to open a cafe, which never happened. It'll happen eventually, but we decided to kind of start from the ground up and learn how to roast coffee and know what we're doing when it comes to actually roasting and brewing and all that type of stuff. So that's been a fun, kind of organic, I hate to use that word, organic side project where it never really has had to like be the sole moneymaker for Chris and I. We've let it kind of do its thing, and we work with bands a lot and co-brand coffee and wrestlers and cyclists, and obviously we work with other cafes and stuff like that. So it's been fun. It's been great to let it do its thing instead of needing to push it in a certain direction for it to pay for our lives, which Bayside does. So it's cool. I mean, it's definitely going places. We're coming up, I think, on our 5th year being around. So yeah, it's been great. And like I said,
50th.
we're just.
I think you said 50th at first. You said 5th, right?
I might have, I don't know, fifth year, but
okay, you did. I was just making sure. I was like, are you a fucking vampire? Like, was this like, I don't know.
I'm only 41. I haven't been around 50 years, but
I knew that was insane. Like, that's what I heard wrong. But this is kind of a cheesy question, but I love the answers more so. But where did you come up with the name Bayside? Like, after an area, obviously. Or?
Yeah, it was before my time. But the story goes, Anthony's the only original member, the singer of the band, and the story goes, I think it was maybe a 3-piece originally, and they were heading to see New Found Glory, I believe, and they had songs already recorded. They had like a CD demo, and they were just on the way to a New Found Glory show without a name, and I guess they were passing through the Bayside like train station area, and they just wrote on the CD Bayside. So that's where it comes from. Most people think it's a Saved by the Bell reference, which, I mean, I guess it can be, but it's specifically about a place in New York that the band was relatively based out of early on. But I'm from Long Island. Chris is from Long Island. Jack is from Massachusetts. So, the name is a little bit for us is more about just being from New York, more so than it is like a place we all lived or something like that.
For sure. Great answer. So you came into the band like 2004. I mean, that's pretty close to, when did the band start? I didn't know.
2000.
Okay. 2000. So I mean,
yeah.
No, you've been in it longer. Right? Okay, that's crazy. Yeah, I saw you're in it for like 2. Yeah, that's crazy. Your band was so huge, like within a community of like every single girl I went to high school with. Like that was like your demographic, I think.
Yeah.
Like literally, like it was it was like crazy. Like it was like literally, you guys marketed yourself very well, and the songs are good. I mean, you guys I was listening to some stuff to kind of refresh my memory before this, getting the vibe a little bit. And like you guys are still. I mean, it still sounds good. Like what is that? Like, what is that? Like 20 years later, almost. Like
this was our 21st year. That's COVID crazy. Screwed up our 20th anniversary, so we had a 21st anniversary tour this year, and I mean, like the kind of short story about our career is that we've never been too massive. We've always kind of been on this like upward trajectory as far as like our career goes. So it's kind of like the carrot dangling all the time, like we never have enough to rest. And I think that that's really, I don't know, it makes us a working class band, and I think that we, that helps us strive to be better as musicians and songwriters and try new things while maintaining what people love about us. And really that's been our goal since we've kind of had this career carved out, which, I joined in 2004, but I would say since about 2008 or so was when we were like, this is going places. The more effort we put in, the more we'll get out. And it's been true, like the music industry or entertainment in general is like really not a meritocracy, like you can't just work really hard and become successful. There has to be something that people like about you, whether you're a comedian or an artist or a musician, whatever. So that kind of screws with your brain.
I love that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. That was a great point. I want to touch on it. That is like such a good point. Like that you have to like be talented on top of working hard. You can't just that's very, like, I think that burst a lot of delusional bubbles. I think it probably, I think I think in a good way. I mean, I think it's like growing. People need to hear that shit, I think.
Well, honestly. It's not the 80s or mid 90s anymore, specifically talking about music, like I would be legitimately living at my parents' house if I had to live off of royalties. When back in the day, bands that were huge made tons of money on royalties. We make nothing. Like I don't know the exact amount, but if you look at like Spotify's royalty rate for a stream, it's not even 1 cent. It's like a fraction of a cent. So you have to really be like Dua Lipa or Billie Eilish to get streaming royalties that amount to anything. But like I said, like we had something that people liked, and it's not for everyone, that's for sure. But the people who love us truly love us and sustain us. And it's never been more evident than the tour we just got off of. It's things are for sure weird with touring, but everyone was safe and the shows went off, without a hitch. We played probably to less people than we should have technically, because most of the, I think honestly, all of the venues had some sort of protocol in place where you had to either test negative or be vaccinated. And I think that's going to be like the norm for a bit. So I think that for sure probably kept a couple of hundred people away every night. But regardless, it was still the best tour we ever did. And yeah, I mean, we're in our 21st year, still scheming. We're still trying to figure out how to what the next record's going to be, what the next tour is going to be, our next merchandise, what's something different and new that we could do that excites our diehard fans. But then also we're still, I know we're all older dudes, and like we're not going to have like our 9th record be our hit record. It's just unheard of. But like we're still going to try and win fans here and there. It's becoming this weird time in our career where like our fans are older and they have kids and they have careers and they have money to spend, and we're like kind of becoming like something that people look forward to because they work so hard, and they're like, oh, but Friday night I'm going to Bayside and I'm going to act like I'm 15 at that show, and then they go buy a bunch of beer, they buy some shirts, whatever it is, and it's like really more of an event than it ever has been. And that is such a good feeling, because all my favorite bands are older, like Bad Religion, Bouncing Souls, any of that like genre that I grew up on. And I still plan weekends around going to see them. I literally just got back from Vegas a couple of days ago because Rancid played on Friday, and then Saturday was Alkaline Trio and Bayside. And it's like, it's this connection that I have from when I was a kid that I'll never let go of. And I still, to this day, plan weekends or road trips or anything to just go see some bands play, because I just still have such a good like emotional connection that I knew I was going to feel good, and I did. It was such a good feeling.
I think like age is like a thing of the past as far as like people are concerned with. They just care about if you're talented, because I mean this is, if we get into that, we have like just more Hannah Montanas and less like, I mean if you're only catering to a younger demographic, I mean you're just not gonna have art in my opinion. And I think I like seeing how bands progress. Like I mean most like, I mean in my opinion, most obviously like the Beatles, I mean just like seeing them go from I Wanna Hold Your Hand to like the Helter Skelter songs and like the one album shit. I think like your band, and like I think like it's a luxury that we get to hear new music and like get to get to see that people can see you in concert still. That's a luxury. I think that's a luxury, and and I think it's a really good thing that like to see people that ever even got to where you're at, and then also like like that you're basically just proving the American dream is possible. Like your band, like that, and I like that. It's I like that aspect. Like I think like you're part of pop culture, man. You'll be touring till you're 90 if you wanted to. If it's still fun.
It's this weird. I kind of touched on it a little bit, but we're becoming generational, and like I can't believe that that's our path. Like, not that I can't believe it, but like I said, like I just went and saw Bad Religion, and those dudes are mid 50s, pushing 60, and I'm like, we get to do this, like. They had fun, a bigger, I mean, every time I see Bad Religion is the best time I've seen Bad Religion, and they're literally 55 and up, I would say, at this point. Like I on our own level, it feels so good to know that we get to do that, because we have generations of fans, and we still put an emphasis on making new fans. So I mean, there were times on this last tour, I think it was a little bit more nostalgic than normal because it was our anniversary, and we had bands like Census Fail and Hawthorne Heights with us on purpose. We wanted to have like a nostalgic night for people, and a little bit of a celebratory moment for people, especially after the last 2 years. But like there were moments on this tour where like people tag us in stories or whatever on social media. And, one woman was like, I was 6 months pregnant with my daughter last time I saw Bayside, and right now we're going to the show, she's 11 years old now, and we're going to her first Bayside show. And then another lady was like, my sisters were 3 and 4 when this record came out, whatever song we were playing. And she's like, we're all here right now singing. And it's what's better than that, like truly have a nice little middle-class life, but like the connection that we have with our fans and what we mean to people it's just legitimately priceless. And for someone like me who still listens to everything I listened to when I was a kid, I find new music, I connect with new music. It's just the best feeling in the world to know that like those connections I have with other bands, other people have with my band. And it's absolutely priceless. It's amazing.
That's crazy that you're self-aware enough to know that. Like, you mean that's interesting. I like that on the last part, but yeah, no, I think I think your genre is coming back in like a rap culture kind of way too. It's really interesting to like tour. Like, that makes perfect sense to like the kids of the people that dug you guys like when you first started out are getting into it. Like, I mean, that's how it works. I mean, I think that sound. I mean, I don't know. It's like the soundtrack to being like a teenager almost or something.
Yeah.
So it's like how kids are still wearing like Nirvana shirts and shit. You know, it's like to where I can see that completely, and that's just interesting seeing like just like that you're able to create that and be a part of that. I think like that's interesting, man. Like
it's all on a different level because just music has changed so much since, you know, the internet and Napster, like literally from that point on. But I mean, it's different in scope and size, but it's no different than a 30 or 40-year-old person in.
Brought to you by Blonde Beard's Buffalo Sauce. Elevate your wing game. Blonde Beards makes craft buffalo sauces that will take your wings to the next level. Made with 100% real butter, all natural ingredients, and flavors like chicken and waffles, IPA buffalo, and holy hell. These products are not your average buffalo sauce. Blonde Beard's buffalo sauce is thick, rich, and buttery, and will stick to your wings the way the wing sauce is supposed to. With ingredients like maple syrup, Cajun spices, and fiery scotch, bonnet peppers. These flavors are one of a kind and will make your food taste better. Adam and Karen Nelson, the creators of Blonde Beard's award-winning wing sauce, encourage everyone to try it.
1990 being nostalgic for the Beatles, you know, like it's the same path, it's the same template, it's just on a different scale, obviously. But you know, to me, it's easy to see that like you get into something you're passionate about in your teens, you follow it through, then you become an adult and get distracted for a little bit, and then when you're settled back in your 30s and maybe you have money and you're you know, you're just settled. And you're like, what used to make me happy? All I do is work right now. What used to make me happy? And it's that pure moment in your life where there was no judgment, and you liked what you liked when you were a kid, you know? So it's just really like that happens over and over for every generation. And I still do it. And like I said, I don't take for granted that all my favorite bands still tour. I truly go and have the time of my life every time I see bands that I grew up with. And I don't know, it's just important. It's really easy to forget like that pure joy and happiness and like non-judgmental emotion you had as a kid or a teenager. And I feel that way about a lot of things, you know, like I've really reconnected with like loving Star Wars, and then found, not that I had to find, but like kind of got into this like crazy community of people who like love Star Wars, and they're all adults, you know? So it's really about like this finding community and connecting with people that feel the same as you do in some respects, but also just have a commonality of like wanting to be happy and finding joy. And what is that? Maybe that's oh, is my phone ringing? My phone is ringing. Are you still recording?
Yeah, I could cut that out there. That's fine.
Okay, let me cancel this. That worked. Okay, that never happened.
Yeah, I could just cut it seamlessly. It's like
okay. I think I could backtrack a little bit, but yeah, I think it's just about having that commonality of finding what makes you happy, and then finding more people to hang out with who like the same things. And I think that's, you know, to me, that's the midlife crisis that I'm having is I'm not going out and buying a Porsche. It's more like I'm leaning on things that I leaned on when I was a kid, because those things make me happy. And there are hundreds of thousands and millions of people who feel the same way, who once they find where they should be in their adult life, you're set after that. If you have, you know, good friends, good community to nerd out about things and feel passionate about things, it's like, really, what more could you ask for?
No, I think you know, like that's you know, something really real that I can relate to as well, because I think like I watched this interview with Kurt Cobain talking about that, where he like he was in the height of his fame, he could afford anything, he was so rich, he was just going to like record stores and like trying to find like obscure albums and like and like bands that he liked as a kid. And I think like I think the nostalgia, I mean, I think it's very real, because like you summed it up really well, saying that basically like you're just working a bunch, and then you're just like, what do I like outside of work? And like that describes your 30s very well. And
Totally.
and I really, that really just summed it up, man. Honestly, that's really interesting. I feel like I could relate to that 100%. Like because like as things grow, you're just like, okay, how much more money can I make? What else can I do? What else? What other cool things? And all of a sudden you're like, holy fuck, I'm like 35. Like I'm like, you know, I'm like 35, and I'm like, it's crazy to think about. Like I agree with what you're saying. That's cool. Man.
Yeah, no, it's really, you know, life gets in the way, and it's hopefully you come back to it eventually. But we're all, you know, we're all thrust through the same not all the same, but we're all, especially in our country, so you go to school, you go to college, get a job. That's what you're supposed to do, and a lot of people get to do that, but like you lose yourself in that because there's so much to keep up with, and not everyone's smart. Some people are just better than other people and can handle they can handle different things. So you don't get to go through school and work and college and stuff and everyone comes out the same. It's like, no, some people are just better than other people, so you're gonna have overachievers. So it's difficult to think about that.
That's so true. That's so true. I've never just straight up fucking say that, but no, that's completely true. And I mean, everyone's good at something. I imagine, just like not everybody's gonna be good at fucking guitar or like whatever, not everybody's gonna be good at like whatever the fuck they want to. Yeah, no, not everybody could be president. Not everybody could be like famous. Yeah. It's like, and that's a huge thing too. I mean, that's I mean, that before all this like crazy shit. I mean, that was our only export really, was like entertainment. Like as America, the last like 5 years or some shit or more.
Dude.
Or more. I mean, but now I think we're coming back to like this weird American Renaissance kind of thing where we're going to make a lot of our own things because we have to. Because people let us down and screwed up so bad. Like back to the stupid people thing. Like these idiots like messed up so much stuff that we have to like I don't know. We have to like rise from the ashes and do cool shit instead. And be like,
I think with just in the world in general, it's like there's too much. Like the masses are not cared for in the proper way, and like money and profits drive everything, and unfortunately, so many people, a vast majority of people on Earth, don't even see that. Like there's too caught up in their own making their own money, and living, and it's such a struggle to just like live and have a fulfilling life that you don't even realize how much of the world is just controlled by money. And until more people realize that, it's like, I don't know, it's probably actually just going to get worse.
I think if you watch TV, it seems like it's getting worse. And if you listen to like these people trying to stir things up, I think it is.
Totally.
If I just walk around, man, like everyone just seems like, I mean, there's a lot of silver lining to all this like darkness. I think it was like, it made people create their own like happiness and good and stuff, I think I really see that. Which I mean, it sounds like a fucking Hallmark movie or something. I literally see that though and feel that though. It's weird. Yeah. But back to like your actual interview though. So when was your like I fucking made it? I'm in a band. I don't have to work at fucking Domino's or like kind of moment, like or whatever. You know what I mean?
I mean, like I said, it's always been like an upward kind of trajectory for us. So, I mean, we really started to make consistent money, not a lot of money, but consistent money around 2007, enough to have an apartment with a roommate and just live that way for a minute. But I don't know, honestly, like I didn't feel like I was not a kid playing music until, honestly, I don't know, 2012, 13, around there somewhere. So I'm talking like my early 30s, which doesn't sound, that sounds fairly normal, I would say, as far as age goes. But yeah, I mean, you sacrifice so much for something that you love in this business. And the amount of times we were like, obviously traveling unsafe, or had 8 of us in a hotel room, or trying to live off of $5 for a whole day of food. It's like you do all that stuff and you sleep on a floor because you have hope that it's going to work out one day. And for so many people, for a vast majority of bands and artists, it doesn't. And that's just something to like actually think about a lot, is that like, as popular as our band is, and I could always think that we should be more popular, we're still in like the smallest sliver of a % of successful bands, like the smallest sliver. So I mean, I never felt like I made it. There's times when I'm on stage and I'm like, I made it in a emotional sense, like this is what I want to do, and this is so great. And a lot of it was on this last tour, but I mean, the world's constantly changing. So I don't see how, like, for us who haven't made, millions of dollars year after year, there's just so much to strive for and so much we want to do. And I don't know that I'll ever feel like I financially made it, but things I talked about earlier, like just having a connection generationally with people, like what more could you ask for as far as being an artist?
The last part of that answer kind of reminded me of like this Cage the Elephant song that was like he was like complaining about doing music still and playing these shows.
Yeah.
And then he's just like but people say, hey, at least you're on the radio. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it reminds me of. He's like so many people never even got to that point, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, that's very like I think the same thing with podcasts. I'm like why am I able to get a dude from like have you on here, for example? Like you're like a legend, right? And then and everyone has a podcast. You mean like literally it's just so I mean, and I think
I have two.
Yeah, some people have two, man. Like, but like, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's like I'll just stream legends on here all the time. And I'm like, but everyone has a podcast. It's so weird. I mean, it's just it's an awesome vibe. And I feel like the same thing with like what you're saying, like with music. I think. I mean, I imagine the first time you played with the band you listened to or something, you're just like, what? Like, I mean, it's kind of like it was probably just fucking nuts, man. Like,
yeah, I mean, the first instance of that was really. I mean, we would play random shows with bands that we liked, but the first time that we got like, I don't know if accepted is the right word, but the Bouncing Souls around like 2008 or 9 was the first band to be like, hey, you guys are pretty cool and we're going to take you on tour. And that was the first time where like one of my favorite bands like acknowledged us, but then also like helped our career a little bit. It's just such like it's such a great, like, I don't know. It's such a great stamp of approval, I want to say, you know, and like it was just like a step in the right direction for our career. And it's just such a weird thing where like, you know, like you were mentioning that like our scene is kind of like having a like revitalization. If you ask me, back then we weren't even accepted as an emo band, you know, and then we also weren't accepted by like the more punky bands either back then. So we really always just kind of like paved our own way until it was like almost undeniable that we were still sonically somewhere in between like emo and punk, but like you could be a punk rocker and not be embarrassed that you're like Bayside, and then you could be a total emo freak and be like, yeah, but I like Bayside, they're cool, you know. like we were cool to the emo crowd, and you didn't have to necessarily, if you were like a punker, have to be embarrassed by Bayside. We were just like our own thing. We spanned a couple of different genres, and I mean, it's worked for us for sure.
Yeah, and your fans like really like your band too. It's like you don't have like casual fans. I feel like
it's definite. The phrase "Bayside is a cult" is definitely like it's something we always had because we liked the way it sounded, and I don't know if it was a little bit of like we pushed in that direction, but it became a thing. It for sure became a thing. Like people don't realize how, I guess, like how much of an entity we are. And then there's people who are just like, no, you guys changed my life. I have 5 Bayside tattoos. It's like, yeah.
That's gotta be crazy. That's gotta be crazy to think about.
I mean, it goes back to, I'll keep repeating myself forever. Almost all my tattoos are band related. So it's just the best feeling in the world that people feel that way about us. So.
Well, yeah, you create that energy, man. That makes sense. Why that would happen for you? That's how you. That totally makes sense if that's how you are. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That would freak me out if someone had like my face like tattooed on it. That would legit.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen my face. The closest I would say to that is people are like, could you sign my arm? I want to get it tattooed. It's like, it's your journey. If that's what you want. That's what you want.
That's where you pull the trumpet and just say yeah and like walk to the elevator.
Yeah.
You're just like, yeah, totally. Like, and then just get the fuck out of there like, immediately.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna make a voodoo doll out of you if you drop any hair.
So
at
far,
all.
it hasn't happened.
Are there any that you know of? There may be voodoo dolls of you. True. Being a rock star, I think that would like draw anyone. You're in public, you know. So you're like a public person. So I mean, anybody has access to you basically. But do you want to throw out any like links that aren't obvious? I mean, people can like clearly look up Bayside on like Spotify, Apple, blah. Is there anything that like that people like that are like badass fans or someone that's like new to your kind of music just being introduced to this podcast would kind of want to see?
Yeah, I mean, it's just as far as Bayside goes. I mean, you could find us on social media there, but I mean, Bayside has afforded me a lot of free time, and I just use that time to do things I love. Like I mentioned, our coffee roasting, that's called Legal Speed Coffee Roasters. That's just Chris and I, the drummer of Bayside. And then, like I said, I have 2 podcasts, and one of them is with Ryan from Yellow Card and Adam from Story of the Year, and it's a Star Wars podcast. We just truly nerd out. We've been doing that for about 1.5 years now. And I just started about, I don't know, I guess 3 months ago, I want to say, my own radio show on Spotify, where just pick 10 songs, 10 artists, and talk about them. It's really supposed to feel more like an hour, or I guess like 45 to 50 minutes of radio as opposed to like a podcast. I don't talk very much. I talk about the songs and I introduce the songs and maybe give some touring info and stuff like that. But I don't really have guests on or anything like that. The closest thing I'll do to having a guest on that show is literally have someone like quote unquote call in and request the song. So I'll find an artist I like or band member or somebody to, just leave me a voicemail basically. And they request the song. So it's not like I interview them or anything like that. I'm kind of trying to keep it more like an interactive playlist, and that's exclusively on Spotify for streaming purposes. But that's something I've always kind of done in some sort of iteration. Like me and Anthony did our own radio show probably about 10 years ago at this point on Adobe Radio, and that was like we recorded it and they broadcast it live once, so it was kind of like if you didn't hear it, it was just gone after that. And then I've just bounced around on the internet with trying to do different radio show type stuff. It just gets tricky because you can't legally stream other people's music until Spotify figured it out. So that's almost immediately I started my own radio show, because I was like, wait a minute, if Spotify lets me talk and record my own audio and then I could put in like actually stream music, then that's all I need. So I'm working on that. That's called, I should probably mention what that's called, right? It's called the Radio Show, and it's only on Spotify. So that's what I'm really having a lot of fun with. It's literally just me. I record it right where I'm sitting right here, and it's a lot of fun. And it helps a lot of stuff we're talking about. Like, I just think music keeps you young, and discovering music keeps you young. But you get lost when you get older. So sometimes you need to be nudged in the right direction. And I pick songs from all kinds of like alternative soundscapes that to me make sense. I listen to I think that all the music I listen to has something in common. I'm not quite sure what it is other than melody, but there's some sort of something there that I could hear a connection between. Like, I made this joke yesterday. I'm like, there's some sort of connection between Dua Lipa and Bad Religion. I don't know what it is, but I'll play them in my car back to back and feel totally fine. So I'm just trying to get other people to hear new music that they like and discover new bands. And then hopefully in turn, they buy tickets, they buy merchandise, and it just becomes this community of support for musicians. But all in all, it's just fun to record for an hour, pick 10 songs I like, and hopefully people find some new music. So that's been the newest thing that I've kind of ventured off into, and I'm really having fun with it.
Without sponsors like Bootstrap Burt's Hot Sauce, this show, it could not exist. It slaps. Go to bootstrapburts.com. They got Hurricane Chipotle sauce. They got Carolina Reaper sea salt. They have Bootstrap Burt's collection of sauces. The Hooch, Tres Amigos, Kiwi Habanero, Roasted Jalapeno Pineapple, Mango Habanero, Pineapple Coconut, rum flavored. I mean, just go to the website, bootstrapburts.com, link in the description, and get some sauce.